Welcome to the Indian Film Festival of Cincinnati. I am Ratee Apana, the Executive Director of the Indian Film Festival here. And with me today is Prateek Vats. Um, Prateek is the director of this fabulous film that you just saw, Eeb Allay Ooo. And this film really takes us into a story that's thought provoking and brings out some very serious social themes that really makes us begin to think of who we are as a people. I hope you enjoyed the film as much as I did. And so with us here today is the young writer, director, filmmaker Prateek Vats. Welcome, Prateek. It's so lovely to have you here. And we are
Thank,
privileged to show your film.
thank you, Rati. Thank you so much for having me and showcasing the film. It's an honor to be here.
Lovely, lovely, actually. Pleasure is ours. Pratik is a graduate from Delhi University, and he did his master's in film direction from the Film and Television Institute of India, the FTII, and then he's been working on both fiction as well as non-fiction films. Besides the short and long format films, he also works in advertising, and he's an associate in the capacity of an associate director. So he's been making films for corporate audiences as well. Most of you might remember him from a documentary that he did some time back. And um, I believe the documentary was called A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings. It was in 2017, made in 2017. It was about a 100-year-old bodybuilder. And it won a special jury prize at the Indian National Film Awards. Our film today has also done extremely well on the film circuits. It has won the Best Film Award at the Mumbai Film Festival and the Young Critics' Choice Award as well in 2019. And it went to the Pingyo International Film Festival, and there it won the People's Choice Awards. And then it was also at the Valladolid International Film Festival, and as a 2020 nominee for the Best Feature Film. Um, this is absolutely wonderful that this film has been doing so well, and we are so happy that the film is here with us today. Now, Eeb Ali Ooo follows Anjani, and Anjani is this young man, migrant, who has come into Delhi, and he is part of the Delhi's monkey repeller squad. I mean, who knew about that? I certainly didn't. He's totally unskilled and, socially not really um, adjusted as well. And he lives on the far outskirts of the city with his pregnant sister, Didi, and her husband, who is also a police officer. Now, Anjani, of course, gets his job through his brother-in-law, and then the movie unfolds. So, Pratik, tell me, how did you conceive of making this film? Did the story come to you, or did you go to the story, and what compelled you?
Uh, as in a way, a bit of both. The stories are always there. I feel it's only at some point we decide to have a certain worldview, and then we start to see stories more, carve themselves out of the reality of our everyday life. So, like you said, the main lens was like once I started looking at contractual labor, you
Yeah.
know, and it sort of started becoming more clear. And then you look at this job through that lens. So, just for small correction, even Anjani's brother-in-law is actually a contractual security guard and not so much of a police officer. A police officer has some kind of agency. A
Mm.
contractual guard, like this is the constant theme running through the film, of all the main characters doing contractual jobs. So in a setup where they don't have any agency or sort of bargaining power,
Mm.
and how the system sort of keeps squeezing them, exploiting them, till a point comes where a person like Anjani either breaks or becomes so unpredictable that we do not know what he will do, which is the point where the film ends at. So again, like you said, this was always existing around us. It's just that at some point of time we started looking out for these actively, and
Mm,
this is so I read about this job, actually, this job of this monkey repeller, as the official terminology is,
mm,
somewhere around 2014, 15, 14, I think,
mm,
when they had started recruiting these people. So, but I sort of kept it sort of tucked away because I didn't know how to look at it.
mm.
I didn't want to make an odd job film. Like I was just finishing my, like in the middle of editing our documentary and things like that. And that thing I didn't want to do, like make it about an odd job.
Right, right.
So it took me all these years to develop this lens of contractual labor, of man in system, of, and then give it a form of satire and humor,
Mm,
because that became very important. And with the fact that we could shoot it at the central Delhi and the North Block and the seat of power, it
mm.
just became necessary we do it with humor and satire, you know and don't just go into a sort of realism or a realistic mode. That these kind of things like took time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned contractual labor because that happens all the time. I mean, I have seen that happen. You see it at different levels too. It's not just at that level of daily wage jobs, but you see it at all levels. Contractual labor is treated pretty poorly. So then, having decided that this is the theme that you wanted to do, um, is this a totally fictitious story, or is it based on a true story?
So the essential story is fictitious,
Yeah,
but a lot of these anecdotes and see, I won't say it's like this depiction of reality
yeah,
or a reflection of reality,
yeah.
but it has that there's reality in the reflection of it. There's reality in the core spirit of it, of devising our everyday situations, of the settings of the fact that how bank accounts are treated, who controls money, and
Mhm.
how hierarchy plays out at different levels, and how the actual incidents of how dealing with the monkeys is, and those kind of things are very very real and based on the real, but the essential story is completely fictitious.
I,
And it's been written by Shubham, who's also the
I
associate
saw that.
director on the film.
I saw
Yeah.
that. I saw that it was written by Shubham, and so that's why I wondered. I wondered whether you went to the story, and or did he
See,
write you?
Shubham and me have been working together for more than a decade now. We've been
Mhm.
collaborating on each other's works, and he's written dialogues for my films before. I've done some sort of work on his theater performances. So we've known each other for a very, very long time, and that made it very easy. The whole process of writing it, and sort of, because we really understand each other's takes, we knew what we wanted to do and what we
Yeah,
didn't want to do. Like I said, not concentrate on the
yeah,
fact that it's a unique job.
yeah,
We didn't want to keep harping about it. It was
yeah.
there, but the fact that how it played out, or how it was common with, like you said, in many other contractual jobs, I think that was the thing we wanted to do. What
See,
kind of humor, you know
yeah,
and at what point the humor changes into a certain kind of um, tragedy. That was very important for us.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it was so fascinating, the way you wove, um, the documentary sort of style of filming as well, together with the story. So it's interesting because initially a lot of folks were like, is this a docu-story, is it a documentary, is it? And then you realize, yeah, it is a fictitious um, feature film, really. um, so I have some questions from the audience here. uh, so the question is, they want to know, why did you introduce the side story about the pregnant sister and her husband who fears using the rifle. Um,
Yeah. Like I said, for me, they were never side stories. They were all part of a spectrum of contractual labor that is fundamental to the story. And for us also, it was the brother-in-law and the sister which are the anchor to Anjani's entire universe, because like we say in India, if the family is critical to us, a
mhm,
family unit, and slowly that disintegration was very vital for Anjani to reach his psychological space where
mhm.
so that we can reach the end that we have,
Yeah,
which is more psychological than plot driven or anything else. So
yeah.
for us, the family was very central since the beginning. It wasn't a side story ever.
Okay. Uh, okay. So, and then he says, she says, well, or maybe it's a he. He said, this is the other question. Is this truly a job? Seriously, it's unbelievable. Are there such jobs in other cities? And how much are these guys paid? So all of that.
Uh, See, so first of all, of course, it's a proper job. It's a semi-government contractual job,
Yeah.
which so to understand this we have to go a little back and understand how these things function. So monkeys, because of them being holy animals, are
Mm,
treated in a certain way.
mm,
And monkeys, so the monkey population is very prevalent in the urban areas in Delhi,
mm,
especially Delhi and other parts of and the other towns of other provinces as well. um, the whole the area of the government complex that we film in, the central Delhi area, was
mm.
built around a hill called Raisina Hill, where monkeys had been traditionally, they
Yeah.
were the inhabitants. So they've never quite left.
Mm,
And over the years, the most effective way that the authorities found was by using captive langurs, which is a bigger ape with a long tail and black face. So they're considered to be the natural enemies of the smaller rhesus monkeys.
I
In
see.
2012, they were brought under the purview of the Wildlife Protection Act. So
Mm.
now it's illegal to use any of those.
Oh.
So in the meantime, the civic authorities tried doing multiple things, using electric barbed wires,
Mm,
but then everything they did became so high pitched because of animal rights and it being a sacred animal. So finally, they realized that this was their best bet: train people to imitate langurs. So that is the origin of this job.
so
Okay.
this is the real job. So
Yeah, that's the origin of the job, basically. So now it's a unique job, but as part of as any other contractual job, it is the basic point is that it's exploitative and it robs and it doesn't give any kind of job security.
yeah.
And it is totally dependent on the contractor,
Mhm.
and the money and dealings are a lot of it is happening in cash through the contractor.
Mm.
So there's a lot of exploitation, and because the job doesn't require any particular skill as such
Right.
skill set,
Right.
it's easily replaceable. So people are always afraid of losing their jobs, so they tend to bend and accommodate and whatever, like, work to the whims and fancies of the people above them. Always, they never want to piss off the person who's
Correct.
their boss, immediate boss. So
Correct.
this is the whole thing. As far as we last knew, the people were being paid around 12,000, but after all deductions and all, actually they got close to 8,500 rupees, which would be just above, I don't know how much, hundred
$120
dollars,
maybe.
$120, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
roughly that a month.
And that's for the
That's
whole.
about
And
yeah,
that's
that's
oh.
about $4 a day.
And in a city like Delhi, Delhi is not cheap. I'm sure.
Not at all, not at all.
So it would be really.
Delhi is a huge, huge metropolis. It has a population of 20 million. It's a 20 million plus city.
Mm.
So we have to. It's as big as what we think of New York or Sao Paulo or
Mhm.
Hong Kong or things like that. It's that dense and that hectic and obviously that expensive.
Yeah. What I really love about this Pratik in this docu story also is how human the human story behind this. and the guard crying, for example, um, the security guard and his rifle. I mean, uh, and the fact that the mother or the sister couldn't really get the proper care, medical care that she wanted because of the cost of medicines and so on. And so for a lot of us in India, it really reminds us of how difficult life can be, and especially for the migrant worker who come into the big cities with the hope of getting something. Um, and and also in the film there were so many messages within messages, I thought, because you strangely enough you have these monkeys running into the government building, and the government wants to keep them out of it. And I don't know if there was a tongue in cheek there or not, but I just wanted to ask you, what was your message, that you want our audience to get.
Yeah, two things, like they're sort of interrelated. Like you said, the track with the gun and the brother-in-law. Now, I'm sure audiences in America look at weapons very differently, right? And it's such a burning topic.
Yes.
So for me, it was always this thing of uh, sort of how do you invert this hyper masculinity associated with guns and ammunition and firepower. So
Mhm.
how do we create a situation realistically where the advent of a weapon or being given a weapon is a source of being scared for
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
We wanted to explore that without really making it a caricature-ish thing. And so that was very interesting throughout. And like you said, you are in the middle of an election. India seems to be perennially in the middle of an election. So, so we know what kind of governments we're dealing with, and what kinds of the thing of hyper nationality, or a very how do I say it, a jingoistic idea of a nation.
True.
That has to be punctured, and I think monkeys gave us that tool, because that's what I said, satire.
Yeah.
Something like what Dario Fo would do, or and you mix it with you know one very realistic human story, and what you get is something what we were aspiring to do, because we really didn't want to go into a story which was grim from the beginning. We wanted humor to sort of get the audiences in, and then
Right.
take it to its absurd and logical conclusion, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it was so well layered, and so intelligently made. I really enjoyed watching it. So, let the audience know, some of the challenges that you, as a filmmaker, will have, doing a project like this. Um, and how did you find your protagonist, for example? And these are not he's not a seasoned actor, is he, or is he a seasoned actor?
He's a real life monkey repeller.
He is a
uh,
real monkey. So tell us about him.
yeah, Mahinder. I'm talking about Mahinder, the guy who's lynched.
The guy, oh, I see. He's a real
Yeah,
life.
the protagonist is a trained actor.
He's a trained actor.
Anjani is a trained actor. Yeah,
So
from the
the
film
other
school.
guy, the
Same
guy,
film
the
school
elderly
that
guy is the one who's a
who
real.
teaches Anjani,
Yeah,
who sort of is
yeah.
is is like the guiding elder brother figure to Anjani.
Did Anjani
And
actually really figure out how to do the Eeb Allay Ooo now, or he didn't get to
he's
realize?
at it. He's been
He's still
working.
trying, huh? That's lovely.
Uh,
So,
so uh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was saying, like you asked, so there's a bunch of physical problems, of course, in me trying to make a film like this. How do you shoot? When do you shoot? How do you work with monkeys? How do you shoot in these kind of high security areas? These are some very, very physical kind of. But I think morally, the biggest uh, difficulty, or the biggest struggle that we had was, now these areas are sort of they're the most lavish and posh areas of Delhi, and
Correct.
probably the most secure areas in whole of India.
Correct.
And so there's a sense of grandeur about the architecture, about the layout, about
Yeah.
the expanse.
Yeah.
So the struggle was, how do we look at these areas through a
Mm,
working class gaze?
mm,
What gaze do we employ to shoot film these areas?
mm,
And so here I think Mahinder became a real guide. And so we sort of just followed him, because he was in the true sense, he's the starting point of the film. It's a
mm.
news article about him that I had read many years back that
Oh,
sort of got me interested into it. And
what?
then he was the first person that me and Shubham met in Delhi when
Mm,
we decided to make this film. And at the end of the first meeting, we were pretty sure that we wanted him to act in the film as well.
mm,
And then he became sort of a script guide, our location guide, just trying to make us understand all nitty gritties and nuts and bolts of this work, these areas,
mm,
troops of monkeys, behavior patterns of monkeys, their movements, because that was going to be very critical how we would film the monkeys and edit them,
mm.
because that was one very very critical thing, and without that the film wouldn't have come through.
Yeah,
So
because,
in that sense, yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
meeting Mahinder and trying to look at this space with that working class gaze was the biggest struggle that we had.
Yeah, because your monkey shots were excellent too. The expressions on their faces and, the timing of it. And I just wanted to ask you too. I mean, how did you actually go about capturing that and then putting it together, editing it? It must have been quite difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, like me and Shubham had spent a lot of time in those areas, you know. So Shubham was very sure that we could do a lot of things. So
Mm,
he wrote it in a certain way, and then we had to be open while filming. The
mm,
biggest advantage was that cinematographer, editor, and the sound recordist all had prior documentary experience. They've
mm,
made their own documentaries, they've worked on tons of other people's documentaries. So there's no anxiety of trying to control it in a certain way. And there's a great openness to, incorporating the reality as it unfolds around oneself. And that is then, carried on in the edit and the sound design and stuff like that. So there's this great amalgamation of reality and design that
mm,
was happening throughout. It was a very documentary like approach, but we wanted to carve out the reality from, we wanted to carve out our own reality of the film, reality of the script, rather than general reality. And so design became very important. So shooting monkeys was important, but shooting them in the right light was important. Shooting them in the right magnification became important. Shooting them in the right lens became very important for us. Things like that, just to sort of create, juxtapose monkeys with our protagonist, so that man monkey transference kept on happening through the film.
yeah, yeah. That was absolutely magnificent. How long did it take you to do the filming?
The filming was about 50 days in all, but the edit took a long time, almost a year.
Yeah.
matlab, in terms of not 1 year of working, but with breaks in the middle.
Mm.
But yeah, that took a lot of time. And then sound again 3-4 months, if I'm not wrong. So total of just under 2 years.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. So as you edited the film and it was coming forth, did you look at it and say, "Hey, this is super nice. This is going to be a winner"?
Winner and all, I don't know. But when we were shooting, we knew this was fresh.
I mean, a winner for
This
yourself.
was
Yeah,
in this. See, the whole struggle these days is because there's like so much media and so much films and so much quote unquote content being created, that there's a fatigue also with images.
there is.
You know, and while shooting, if it we were getting excited that somehow just we felt that we are on the right track. A
Mm,
lot of times, see, the beauty of something fresh is that it creates anxiety, because you don't know whether it's going to work or not, because it's new, it's fresh.
mm,
That sort of kept the excitement. It was almost like a childlike kind of excitement while shooting with monkeys or shooting in these areas and shooting a real location. So that was a lot of fun,
yeah.
and it was very enjoyable.
So tell us some funny stories. The story behind the story. Tell us some funny stories or something memorable that happened with your team, because we'd love to hear a little bit about your team as well. The characters.
Yeah, yeah. So for the team, like I said, Shubham is the writer.
Mm-hmm.
He is a trained actor from the Film Institute,
Mm-hmm.
the same school that I went to. Then cinematographer is Soumyananda Sahi. He's a filmmaker himself, and he's shot a lot of fiction as well as documentary films. A lot of his films have been shown in various festivals, including Sundance and Venice and all that. And editor is Tanushri Das. She's also she's made her own films, and she's had experience of editing documentaries as well as fiction films. Sound recordist is Bigya. He's my classmate from the film school,
Oh,
and again, tons of experience from working on
mm-hmm.
films of all durations, all styles,
Yeah.
experimental, narrative. And Shwetab Singh, he's the producer of the film, first time producer, again a trained actor from the film school, again the same film school.
Nice.
So it's his first film as a producer,
Mm-hmm.
and he's produced another film called Aise Hi, which was in Busan, and it won an award in Busan in France and Mami as well. So
And it
this is the core
and
team.
it has been shown at our festival. It's showing at our festival.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah.
So it's the same producer, Shwetab.
Yeah.
So he started off fantastic with these two films. So
Mm-hmm.
this is so the team was very intimate. Most of us knew each other for a very long time. Even the other crew members were the people who we've been in the same theater group or worked before.
So
So
it was like
because I
a
really
big
want,
friends party, huh? It seemed like a
no,
big friends party almost.
yeah, because even Naina or Nutan, or I mean, the girl who's playing nurse or the
Maybe, yeah.
sister, brother-in-law, we're all from the same film school.
I see.
So everybody kind of knows each other. So we also try and sort of work with each other in terms of how we are trying to do, because we're working with a trained set of actors and a
Mm.
set of completely non-professional actors.
Correct.
So a, a lot of times that doesn't come together you
Yeah.
know so working with all these people was sort of very comfortable, because I could improvise, I could push people,
Mm.
and change my mind and be flexible and come up with new ideas on the spot, and they would all respond to it. It was almost like a game, a team sport. So it's like you're trying to build a move together, and sometimes comes off, sometimes doesn't come off.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of dynamics of the crew that was at play. And what was the other thing you asked me? Sorry, I'm forgetting.
Well,
Uh,
I was going to say, well, we'll come back to that, but I was going to say your style of direction. So, do you pretty much let them sort of feel the role and do it, or um, it's pretty?
uh, uh, see, I won't say that. There was a lot of improvisation and openness. But see, the thing is that we always had a very bound script, in the sense that we knew where the script had to go, the story had to go. So it couldn't go too off also from the main plot.
Yeah.
So at all times, we had to keep it within those constraints
Mm.
overall. But within those things, we were very open and flexible and trying out new things.
Okay.
And so with the actors also, there was a lot of rehearsals,
Mm.
because we knew, because in real location there won't be time for rehearsals and all. So there was constant chatter, there was constant rehearsals before going on set, and trying
Mhm.
to just figure out the fundamentals of a character, the
Right.
broad outlines, which we will then which are given, and the improvisations happen under those parameters.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
it was a like a nice mixture of um, sometimes improvisational work, but sometimes very design set pieces,
Mm.
like the scene where a lot of sequences are single shot in the film. So
Mm.
they had to do with a lot of design with sound in mind, and how it was being lit, and the actors had to catch positions and all that. So it was a nice mixture, and it was like it was keeping us on our toes. we
Oh
we
yeah.
couldn't sort of preempt.
Oh yeah. And the protagonist, I mean, he did a great job of acting too. And I loved some of the analogies that you brought out. The look on his face when he sees that lone monkey trapped in that cage. The empathy that he feels for it. It was truly touching. Actually, it was very, very touching. The other question that you said, but what was the other question? Was I wanted to ask you whether you had any funny stories back behind the scenes that you want to bring
it was
to our audience?
it was it was all funny. I don't know what to say. I'll just say something which will sort of, it set the tone for us, and that's why it was very important, and it happened on the first day of shoot. So we were filming this Republic Day procession, military parade, and all that.
Yeah,
And we had gone in there to just shoot this whole idea of a military parade and all that, and this guy trying to figure out his job and all that. But within that parade, then there was a whole float which had big langurs, exactly the kind of costumes that we had made for our actor.
yeah,
And that sort of, it just got us so excited, the entire crew. I think that energy just carried us through the 50 days, because to have that kind of a transition,
yeah,
it sort of just gave us that, how do I say, a sign
yeah.
where it says that you go for it and something's going to come off. It might not be the thing that we've planned, but what it is, if we are able to respond to it, and incorporate it and work with it, then good things could happen. And in this film we needed that approach. We needed that non-industrial kind of
Mm,
flexible thinking on our feet, a smart kind of crack unit kind of an approach.
absolutely. Uh, yeah, absolutely. Did any of you get hurt by the monkeys, or did the monkeys steal anything from you? No.
Yeah, monkeys are like that only. They keep stealing.
Yeah.
Not hurt, but yeah, generally it was a physically demanding shoot for
Yes,
everyone.
it is a physically
um,
demanding shoot because I was watching it. I was and the pacing was also very nice. I was and there was some and sometimes I expected a monkey to just swoop down. Like when he's drinking his chai, I thought, oh, I think now the monkey is going to jump in, but no, he didn't. So I was just kind of it was
I think that's the beauty of filming with monkeys. They're so unpredictable
yeah
that half the time you as an audience are sort of preempting and expecting, and that
expecting
creates a
something.
tension and anxiety,
Yes,
expectation. So I think you watch more as an audience when something like that is happening. And I think that is something which has worked in the film's favor a lot. People tend to watch it closely.
absolutely, absolutely. It was just absolutely beautiful. We really enjoyed the film. If there's one message you want to give our audience about your film, what would it be?
About, sorry, one
About
message
your,
about.
about your film, about the content of your film, what it's trying to say.
Oh,
What would it be?
it's
Film's message.
to me to me it's a universal message of dignity of life and labor, which is no different or no less for a monkey repeller than it is for a contractual employee at Amazon delivering stuff. It's the same universal value which has to be respected, and it is a right. Labor is there's grace in human labor, and that has to be respected. And there's too much, we've let our governments ruin our labor force and ruin the conditions of our own citizens. And it's time that we keep questioning it. We do it with our art, we do it with our humor, but we do it. That is what is important, because otherwise there's very little hope. The pandemic is sort of exposed the fault lines that are in the system. There's no use pretending that things were all right.
Mhm.
It is the time, it is an important time, and we need to put our foot down and exercise our right as in democracies, where we can, till we can.
Oh wow, that was so well said, Pratik. Thank you for that message. That was very well put. So thank you for being with us today. We really enjoyed your film. We're hoping to see this film in more festivals and then maybe in the theaters as well. What do you
Yeah.
have in mind for your film going from here?
So now that Simanchi, the Vladiloid festival is happening, so, and then next week is a festival in Taipei. Then Singapore, we are having a theatrical release around Diwali, and after that, either we're gonna see if conditions allow, then we're gonna have a short theatrical run in India, and then finally publicly available on an OTT soon enough worldwide.
Lovely, lovely. Well, we wish the film all the best. I think it's superbly done. You've done a tremendous job with it. Congratulations on a job well done.
Thanks, sir.
And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, coming to the festival, having your film come to the festival. We really enjoyed it. And we hope to see you again with more films. We're looking forward to your next project. Is there a next project in the works? You want to tell us
In the
about?
works, very, very early in the works. No, right now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prateek. It was a pleasure talking to you. And
Yeah.
hopefully we cross paths again. And thank you so much. And our best wishes to Shweta as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ratee. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And thank you to the audience for being with us. We enjoyed looking through your questions as well. And please join us for another film to the audience.
Thank you. All the best for the rest of the festival.
भगा रहे हैं, नहीं भाग रहा।
तो भगाइए ना जी।
हाँ भगा रहे हैं, बंदर है।
कर कुछ कर ले नहीं तो भीख मांगे ना सड़कों पे भीख।
नहीं करना ही ना।